Today marks 100 days since President Donald Trump took office again.
And during the campaign, he ran on lowering prices for everyday Americans. Now polling shows his approval slipping, including when it comes to the economy. Here to break down the numbers is Marquette Law School professor, Law School poll director, Charles Franken. Charles, always a pleasure.
Good to be here.
Yeah, so among the 6 new polls, the president has an approval rating of about 41%. So how does that compare to where he started and maybe some other factors?
It's a significant drop from the first week or two that he was in office, where his polling average approval was about 49 or so, though some polls had him a little over 50. In these last 6 polls, all done last week or over the weekend, he ranges from 39% as the low to 44% as the high. So there's still a little bit of a range, but that's still pretty low, and it's putting him down in the low 40s, which is where Joe Biden was much of his presidency.
So what would you say are his best topics right now when it comes to the polling?
Clearly the best thing is handling the border. That's the border security question is where he still gets pretty substantial approval ratings, over 50%. But on immigration, he's been falling from in the mid-50s into the mid-40s now. And on the economy and inflation, he's way down into the 30s in some of the polling. Also, worries about tariffs is high.
The overall dip in his approval, do you think or predict that that will change the way his administration does things, or do we expect it to ebb and flow, I guess?
I think in his first term, we saw him not terribly concerned with movement in the polls, but what we've seen in these 100 days is he's very responsive to movement in the stock market and the value of the dollar. And I think those are things where he can pressure universities to change policies. He can pressure law firms to do things, and the Congress is largely willing to go along with him on things. But what he can't do is really dictate what the stock market does, what China does, and I think those pressures will grow over the next 100 days in ways that were beginning to be apparent in this first 100, but are likely to become more apparent. Does he decide to pull back on the tariff issue? And if so, how does the public respond to that?
And how do, stockholders and, corporations respond to that? Do you think they have a little bit more power now to pressure him to back down?
I think there's real pressure. We're seeing stories just today about shortages of Christmas toys, for example. Turns out something over 80% of Christmas toys come from China. So if we have empty shelves come December, I think that will not look good for the administration.
Do you predict the Democrats, as they try to, I guess, get their message going in this second term, will they seize on any of this?
Yeah, I'm sure they will seize, especially on the economic worries, but they're critical of some of the deportations in particular details. Like I say, border security is pretty strong, but deportation's not so strong. I think the problem for Democrats is they have an image problem of their own and are seen more negatively than Republicans in the Congress now, and that's a big problem for them.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, and I have to wonder, too, will this be enough, like any type of poll that comes out, does that persuade voters one way or the other?
Well, I think there's certainly a cascade of bad news, and the lowering of support across 6 or 8 different issue areas is all a sort of indication that people are not real pleased with what the president's doing. The one thing is that still when we ask people, do they have confidence in him, that he does better on that confidence measure than he does on approval on specific issues. So there is still a reservoir of about 50% that say they're confident in his ability to handle the economy, even though that's only 39% job approval on the economy. So there's a bit of a split on that one.
Do we have any other polls to look forward to for your next visit?
Well, we do. We'll be in the field starting next Monday with a new national poll, and we'll be here to talk about it around May 22nd or so.
We'll see you then. Thank you, Charles.
Thank you.
All right, and coming up on Live at 4, why a 17-year-old and Adam